Testing, 1, 2, 3, testing. So today, I want to tell you about a birth story. This is Benjamin's birth story, pregnancy and birth story. So if anatomy or bodily functions just freak you out or make you squeamish, then you might want to just skip over this video. Join us for the next one. Hey guys, welcome to Our Family B. My name is Brigitte, and if you haven't already subscribed, please hit the subscribe button down below, hit the notification bell so that you don't miss anything else coming out, and also follow us on Instagram at Our Family B Social, and also check out our blog, which is ourfamilyb.com. So today, I want to tell you about a birth story. This is Benjamin's birth story, pregnancy and birth story. So if anatomy or bodily functions just freak you out or make you squeamish, then you might want to just skip over this video. Join us for the next one. But I'm going to be talking about my experience with him. He is my first. He's almost 4 now. I had a natural birth with him, but I also had Pitocin. So I had medication, but I did not have any pain medicine or an epidural. So if this interests you, then keep watching. All right, guys, I added the mic, so let's see if that's a little better. Let's go. With Benjamin, we got pregnant 2 years after we got married, but it took us 9 to 10 months to get pregnant, and I had to do 2 rounds of a medication called Clomid because I wasn't ovulating regularly, and so though I would have like a period, it was not really a period. We tried for 10 months. It's something I never thought that I would struggle with. I've never been on birth control. I thought first time we tried, I would get pregnant. It was a little scary for me, and I know that there are so many families that try for much longer and have to go through a lot more to get pregnant, and my heart really goes out to them. I have some close friends that has happened to, but I can tell you this, that God still works miracles, and whether it's through a spontaneous miracle and they get pregnant naturally or they have to go through IVF, God has provided children for them, and that's awesome. And so I'm thankful that He gave us Benjamin, and within the first year of trying, got nauseous around 7 weeks, and it was pretty bad. I constantly had to eat. I didn't have a lot of throwing up, but I was always sick. So I kept crackers and stuff in my scrubs pocket at work, and that's how a couple people knew that I was pregnant right away. But I just always felt sick, and it sucked. 12 to 13 weeks, it went away, and I was super thankful. I had, aches and pains from it being my first pregnancy and not knowing what to expect. And then around 26 weeks or so, I started getting varicose veins. Now, normally people get varicose veins in their legs, but you can get varicose veins anywhere. So what happened with me is that I got them in the area where babies come out, and it was super painful because it was the veins in my pelvis that were incompetent. Blood was not able to flow back up like it's supposed to. It would just constantly pool. Even with multiple support garments that I tried, it was painful. I would come home and put like an ice pack down there and just be in so much pain after working, 10 to 12 hour days on my feet. And I cried a lot. It was something that I never thought I would struggle with, and it's something a lot of people don't talk about, even if they experience it. About 10% of the population experiences it. And for me to have that problem with my first pregnancy was very unusual because my body had not been under that pressure yet with any previous pregnancies. It was more uncommon to face it that bad in the beginning. I was very disappointed with that, and I struggled a lot through that, and it was very hard to work. I actually decided to stop working at 37 weeks. My mom went into early labor with me and my brother at 37 and 38 weeks, so maybe I will too. And I didn't want to work all day and be exhausted and then go into labor that night and not have any energy to have the kind of natural labor that I wanted. I got sick the very next week, and I was on a Z-Pack and antibiotics or whatever because it was just this head cold. And that kind of sucked, but I was in bed and I was thankful I didn't have to work through that because I would have had to call out anyways. So I come to my due date and there's no baby. And I'm super disappointed because I've just been waiting, I've been walking, I've been trying to do all the natural remedies that you can to try to get baby out and nothing. So on my due date, it was a Tuesday or Wednesday, I think. Brandon and I decided to go to breakfast before he had to go to work. So we go to breakfast. I can't eat a lot, even though I'm starving because I have so much, weight on me. And actually, I gained 50 pounds with Benjamin, which seems like a lot, but considering I'm 5'9" and pre-pregnancy I was about 125, I was still actually within the normal range for weight for my height. So the doctors weren't worried about it. It kind of was all over. You wouldn't think, oh my gosh, she gained so much weight and blew up. I'll try to insert a picture or something, but it was kind of all over, very proportional. Doctors were not worried about it. So 50 pounds it was. At breakfast, I kind of felt like I was leaking a little bit. Am I peeing? Because sometimes they say you think you're leaking, but you're not. It's actually just urine. I went home, felt it again, and so I called my doctor's office. It was a nurse practitioner that took the message. I said, hey, I think I'm leaking. This was maybe around like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So I told them, hey, I think I'm leaking, but I'd really like to see if I start contractions on my own. And, I am on my due date. And so she said, oh, okay, let's talk to the midwife and, we'll call you back. Well, I didn't get a call. So I thought, okay, great. They're going to see if I start labor on my own. I had an appointment the next morning already with the midwife that night. Hardly slept. We went to Target and walked around because, that's what all pregnant people do when they're trying to get the baby out. And we got some snacks and some stuff. And so we went back home. I'm tossing and turning in bed. Brandon doesn't sleep well either because I'm constantly moving. And our appointment's at 9 in the morning. We drive 45 minutes to our appointment and we're sitting there. The midwife comes in. She's like, hey, how you doing? And I said, oh, good. Just, a little bit of leaking from yesterday, but nothing else. And she says, what leaking? And I said, well, I called the office yesterday. I said I thought I was leaking. And they said they'd call me back. They never did. And she says, excuse me a minute. And she walks out the door. So we're thinking, uh-oh, she's going to go yell at someone. So she comes back in a couple minutes later and she's like, all right, well, since you said you're leaking, we'll test you. So they did the little blue pH strips to see if you were leaking. She does it and it's negative. It doesn't turn color and stays yellow. Like, oh, okay, well, guess I wasn't leaking. My midwife said, well, since it's your due date and we want to check the baby, we're going to send you to the hospital to get an ultrasound and an NST where they monitor contractions and the fetal heart rate. This is nothing new to me since I do ultrasound for a living. I have been doing it 8 years, so it's nothing new to me. So I said, oh, okay. So we went, we had it. For some reason, it took a while and we didn't get out until around 2 p.m. We're 45 minutes from our house and I'm starving at this point. So we decided to go to Miller's Ale House. This is important for when I record Brielle's birth story. Okay, so pay attention. We went to Miller's Ale House. I had a zinger salad because I love hot sauce and buffalo salads and it's just my jam. So we went and had that around 2 p.m. And as we're finishing, I'm sitting at the booth and I feel like I'm peeing. And I'm like, what is this? So I go to the bathroom. I had a pad in so that I could tell if I was still leaking from, the day before. And it was kind of wet and it was odorless. And I was like, this is not pee. And I wouldn't be peeing just sitting there. I come back out and I'm like, Brandon, I think I'm leaking again. But I'm not sure. And I feel really stupid because they just tested me like 4 or 5 hours ago and it was negative. He says, well, listen, it's going to make us more comfortable before we drive all the way back home if we just call them, see what they say. Maybe we can go back in and they can just test real quick. Called the office. They said, come right back in. We went right back in. They tested again. Right away, the strip turns from yellow to blue. So I was leaking. She says, well, all right, we need to induce you now because, she asked, is this the same kind of feeling you had yesterday when you thought you were leaking? And I said, yes. And I hadn't felt any of that same feeling from when I called the office till the next day. It makes sense that nothing would be there that would turn the test strip blue. She said, okay, well, since you've now had your waters break over 24 hours ago, we need to induce you because the risk of infection increases and, it's already been a while. Of course, I started crying because I was like, I don't want to be induced. And I just thought I would go into labor naturally and it wasn't happening. And so it was just this emotional shock. After she talked me through it and we talked to Brandon, she's like, okay, well, I'm going to send you in tonight. The midwife that's coming on at 6:30 p.m. She'll come in and see you, and then we'll start you with Pitocin. And I was like, okay, because I had heard stories and I knew I wanted to try to do it without any pain medication or with an epidural. I was more scared of the needle from the epidural than I was from going through natural childbirth. We go into the hospital. We're probably settled in around 6 o'clock in the hospital room. And the nurse comes in and, okay, we're going to start you on the Pitocin, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, wait, I want to talk to the midwife first before anything starts, because I thought maybe I could do something else like Cervidil, which just is inserted and it helps to ripen your cervix. So it's a more natural way to induce labor. She gave us attitude and we were like, well, we want to wait for her. And so she was like, okay. So she walks out. We wait for the other midwife to come in. I had only seen this midwife maybe once or twice, but she was super nice. I'm so glad that she was the one that actually did my delivery. So the midwife came in and talked to us, really put my fears at ease. And she's like, listen, we'll start it low. We'll just go up and up a little bit at a time. By 5 in the morning, I'll come in, we'll really up it so we can have the baby in the morning. So I said, okay, I had no idea how my body would respond to labor in general, let alone being induced with medication that artificially contracts your uterus, because from what I had read, natural labor is like a wave in your uterus. So the long fibers and the short fibers go like in tandem to push the baby out. Well, with Pitocin, apparently it's more like everything at once, everything at once, everything at once. And so it's a lot more painful and intense, but I was doing it. We started the Pitocin around 8 or so, so I didn't feel anything for a couple hours. And I'm laying in bed, on my phone, listening to music, kind of wondering what should I do. I had to be hooked up to everything because I was on medication. So I had an IV and I had the monitors on my belly, which was very annoying. And Brandon's there. We're kind of just like, all right, I did have a doula and I was keeping in contact with her through text. And so she said, hey, when you start to feel like you need me or you're having some pain or contractions, like just call me, I'll come right away. It was going to take her about an hour though to come. So Brandon goes to go downstairs to meet his dad, who brought him some dinner because he hadn't eaten. I wasn't allowed to eat at this point, but it's now 10 p.m. and he's hungry. He brings us some pillows that he picked up from our house. He's gone for maybe 15 minutes, okay? In that 15 minutes, all of a sudden, I start having a lot of pain. And it's super intense and it's close together. It's like 2 minutes apart. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, I text my doula. I'm like, okay, I think I need you to come now, because I knew it would take her an hour. So I wanted to call her like right away. Brandon comes back in the room and I tell him I'm having pains. So basically, from what I remember, because when you're in labor, a lot of things get blocked out and you get in the zone. And so I was trying to do my breathing and everything that I knew from reading books of how to have a natural labor. My doula comes and it's just super intense, super quick. I have never experienced anything like this, so I really don't know what to expect. I am trying to stay in the moment because that's how I hear you're supposed to do it. 3 a.m., Brandon's like, can you back down the Pitocin? Like, she's having a lot of pain. I really don't think she needs it. She's having contractions on her own. I think it's just so intense. She can't handle this. Finally, I think he asked 2 or 3 times. They finally did back it down by 3:30 or 4. I don't know the time frame. The midwife comes in and she checks me and I think I'm at 8 centimeters. And now I'm on the ball going back and forth from the ball to the bed to standing to the bathroom. My doula, she was there helping me, coaching me. I really could not have done this without her. And I had known my doula actually since I was in high school, and she became a doula later. So I already had this, relationship with her. And I'm telling you, if you're on the fence about it, get a doula. It's so worth it, especially if you're trying to do a natural labor and in the hospital. And Brandon had said, he's like, I didn't even know what to do. He's like, I was sitting there like tired, and then I'm looking at you and you're going through all of this. And he's like, how can I feel tired right now? Like, look what she's going through to have this baby, and I'm being so selfish. But he didn't know what to do. Our doula would help coach him also on ways to help me, where to put pressure and like just to be there. So I would go from leaning forward on her to leaning back on him. And guys, it was crazy. So it basically was about 7 hours of this intense pain, 3 minutes apart. And my midwife checked me around 4:30 and she said, okay, you're 10 centimeters. You're ready to push. Where do you want to push? Do you want to push on all fours? Do you want to push on the bed? Was exhausted at this point. And I said, I just want to lay on the bed. So I know that's not always the best position, but that's what I wanted to do. So I get on the bed and I went through some coached pushing for about 20 minutes. Oh, let me back up here. 1 or 2 in the morning, I was having this jittery feeling, and no one tells you about the adrenaline rush and this like jitteriness that you're shivering, but you're not cold. It's just all the adrenaline and hormones from the labor. And it was like, I hated it and I wanted it to stop. And so I was this close to taking some like IV medication to try to stop it. But then I was like, I can't take it anymore. You know, I need something. And the nurse is like, all right, well, we can give you this and this, whatever. And both Brandon and my doula knew that I didn't want to take anything unless, you know, I'm going on like 48 hours and I'm exhausted. Like, I just wanted to try my best not to do it. So my doula said, okay, to the nurse, well, what will this do for the baby? And the nurse is like, oh, the baby will go to sleep too. And so I heard that and I thought, no, we are not prolonging this. I know that the baby is trying just as hard to get out as I am to push him out. She's like, do you want it? And I was like, no, I'm going to push through. And Brandon was looking up everything. And after the nurse left, he's like, you know, from what I'm reading, that's not going to take away what's bothering you the most, which was the shaking and like the jittery feeling. It was like the most, I don't know, it's an unnerving feeling and I hated it. But I was like, you know what? I'm going to power through. Fast forward again to I'm pushing and being coached on when to push. And this was 4:30. Okay, I started pushing. I pushed for maybe 20 minutes. The ring of fire hits. She said, push one more time. So I pushed one more time and the head came out. The cord was around his neck. So she just unlooped that. Then she said, okay, pull him out. And I was like, what? So she pulls my hands forward and like puts them on him. And I just pull him out with the next contraction and onto my belly. And he was born. And he was slimy and like white, and you know, I didn't really know what newborns looked like right after they come out. So I was like, oh my gosh. But I was so happy that it was over. Like, it was like this instant wave of relief. And I'll insert some pictures here afterwards. And I was so exhausted, so sweaty. You know, my doula was putting like ice cloths all over me during, and oh my gosh, it was the craziest experience I had had in my life up till that point, until my second was born. I was so happy I did it without any medication or an epidural, because that's what I had wanted. Now, I wasn't so set on it that I would have taken it if, you know, my health was in danger or I had been going on 24 or 48 hours. Like, there's nothing wrong with those things. It's just something I had decided I wanted to try to really do. And I'm so happy I did. Now, I did tear, I think it was 2nd degree, so it took a while to recover from that. I had to have stitches. You know, I have my baby on me, so it was just kind of this peripheral, like, okay, yeah, I feel that pins and needles, but like, I'm gonna get through it. Okay. I just birthed the baby, so, you know. He was 7 pounds and 8 ounces, 20 or 21 inches long, 20 and a quarter. Guys, I don't remember. This is so terrible. He was fully healthy. He did have a little bit of jaundice, but he didn't have to go under the lights or anything. We followed up with our pediatrician 3 days later and he was good. I started nursing him right away, and that's a whole nother journey that, you know, I can do a separate video on. That's how he came into the world. It was July 10th, 2015 at 4:59 a.m. So I started pushing 4:30-ish and he was born 4:59 a.m., so almost 5 a.m. And that's when the midwife originally said, yeah, I'll come in at 5 and we'll really up the Pitocin, blah, blah, blah. Nope. 7 hours of labor. First baby, he came out. So I think I surprised them, and it's kind of funny because when I tell you Brielle's birth story, it's really shocking, and hers was just insane. So you'll have to stay tuned for that because it was absolute insanity. Like, insanity. That's all I can tell you right now. I hope you guys enjoyed the birth story. If you did, give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends. For some reason, I just love birth stories. I love seeing the unique way that babies are brought into the world, and everyone's experience is so different. Every pregnancy is different. So even my 2 pregnancies, and even people that have 10 pregnancies and births, like, they're also different, also unique. And I think that's so cool because I think from the beginning, God marks you as unique, and the way you enter the world is part of that. Join us for the next video next week, and I hope you guys have a great day. Bye. Oh, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and share with your friends. Join us on Instagram.